For our next question, we imagine that Terrence invested $6,000 in a mutual fund that increased in value 2.06% in its first year. There was a 2.75% management fee, however, so we'd like to determine the amount of Terrence's investment after 1 year. Well, first thing we do is figure out what our net gain was. In this case, we gained 2.06%, but we paid 2.75%, which means our net gain was actually a loss of 0.69%. Since we lost 0.69%, we have to subtract that from 1. 0.69% equals 0.0069. We subtract that from 1 and make that our multiplier. Whenever we decline or decrease, we subtract the percentage expressed as a decimal from 1. So our multiplier is 0.9931. So next we can say that our final amount is equal to our prior amount times 0.9931. So we have 6,000 times 0.9931, which is $5,958.60. That's how much Terrence has in the bank after 1 year. The second part of the question says, what if he decided to leave his money in the bank, even though he had a bad year in his first year? He decides he's going to leave it in there, and he's going to see if he can get a better rate of return. Well, it turns out that he does. He gets a 6.52% rate of return. We'd like to know the value of his investment after the second year. Well, they still charge 2.75% to administer the fund. So we know that at the start of the second year, Terrence began with $5,958.60, because remember, it went down a bit in that first year. And we're looking for his final amount. We try to figure out his net gain for the second year. His net gain is 6.52% minus the administrative fee of 2.75%, which is 3.77%. We express that as a decimal, 0.0377. Since it's a gain, we're going to add that number to 1 and make that our new multiplier, 1.0377. Now, our final amount will equal our prior amount times 1.0377. Remember that we began the year with $5,958.60. So when we multiply that by 1.0377, we get a final amount of $6,183.24. So that's what he has at the end of his second year. Part C says that over a 20-year period, Terrence is now an old man, and it says his original $6,000 investment averaged 5.33% growth. We'd like to know what his final amount is in the account, but remember, we have to subtract the annual management fees. Every year they take 2.75% because every year they're working. So his final amount is unknown. His prior amount is $6,000. His net gain is 5.33% minus 2.75%, which is 2.58% per year, which is 0.0258. Remember, we express these things as decimals without the percentage sign, so we move the decimal over 2 spots. So our multiplier, because it's a net gain, will be 1 plus 0.0258, which is 1.0258. Now, our exponent in this case is going to be 20, because we're not just doing this for 1 year at a time like we were in Part A and B. In this case, we're talking about an annual increase, but we're doing it 20 separate times. So we need an exponent of 20. So our final amount is equal to our prior amount times the multiplier raised to the exponent of 20, which is 6,000 times 1.664385,389, which is $9,986.31. So at the end of 20 years, his original $6,000 investment is just $1,369 short of $10,000. He did all right, but that's not great, but it's okay.